Hello everybody, it's Victor here, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about the importance of motivation when learning Chinese. I'm wearing a mask right now. Actually I don't want to wear a mask, but I have to do so. So after coaching quite a few people, after taking them from beginner to advanced or intermediate or conversational in Chinese, and after seeing many other people who don't take my coaching program and just procrastinate on learning. I just saw many people who, for example, they registered for a free coaching call that I used to have with people. And so it was really interesting because not everyone who registered for this call actually showed up for this call. It was really interesting to see. And in this forum, people should write down their motivation. What is the motivation? What is their motivation of learning Chinese? And those people who wrote practical things, for example, I want to live in China, or I want to go to China, or I want to do business with China, I want to get more Chinese customers, or I want to, for example, expand my business or professional career to Chinese market. So those kinds of people, they actually showed up for a call, they actually persevered, they actually went through the program, and they actually got a result. And those people who just wrote, for example, I had the one person who registered for my free coaching call. He wrote that one of his parents or one of his relatives was from China. I don't remember correctly, so that because one of his relatives comes from China, this was the main reason why he wanted to learn Chinese. And I realized that the person wasn't actually extremely motivated to learn Chinese. And so what I mean is that there is no such thing as a good or bad motivation. What I want to say is that there is a motivation which actually makes you invest in the program, which actually makes you to invest your time, your money, your energy into learning Chinese. And so if this motivation actually makes you wake up every single morning, open that boring book and invest your money in the program, it means that this motivation is strong enough to drive you to the result. And so, of course, all kinds of motivation are really good. It's perfect if you have all kinds of motivation, for example. And in this video, I'd like to talk to you about what is your particular motivation. I'd like to ask you, what is your motivation? Did you write it down? Do you actually know what you want to do with this language? Do you want to, for example, work in China? Or do you want to make business in China? Do you want to communicate with Chinese people who live abroad? Do you want to make online business related to China? Do you want to just study Chinese as a hobby? Do you want to, for example, is your motivation related to dating Chinese people and your personal life? So what is the reason? What is the motivation? Why do you do that? Why do you want to master Chinese as quickly as possible? And do you actually want to master Chinese as quickly as possible? Are you okay with mastering Chinese, for example, after 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now? I'm not kidding. Actually, there are many people who just learn Chinese for their whole life and still they can't speak this language. And so in this video, I'd like to tell you that motivation is extremely important, and I've been learning foreign languages for over 11 years now. I'm speaking English right now, but I have never been to an English-speaking country. Never in my life. And before coming here, I'm actually in Incheon, South Korea right now, and before coming here, before actually starting to live in Korea, I could speak some basic Korean. I also could take job interviews in Korean, and I didn't live here before. And then before coming here, I just actually came here for traveling a few times, but before coming here I was able to use my Korean to take job interviews with different companies and to express myself in most of the situations. So in order to, for example, master Chinese or any other foreign language or Korean, you don't need to actually, of course it's the best choice if you can go to China, if you can go to this country, but it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to postpone it. Oh, when I go to China, I will be able. In fact, many foreigners that I personally saw, most of the foreigners I saw, believe me, most of the foreigners I saw in China, they couldn't speak Chinese after a few years of living in China. Again, most of the foreigners I saw couldn't speak good Chinese after 3 years, 5 years. Most of them couldn't learn it. I'm not kidding. Most of the people. And what is the reason? And I also saw people, for example, my program, who have never been to China, but they already speak close to fluent Chinese with perfect pronunciation. So what is the reason? What is the reason? Why does that happen? Many people say, oh, of course, like you lived in China for a few years, that's why you speak good Chinese. Oh, of course you live in Korea, that's why you speak Korean. Of course you work in a Korean company, that's why you speak good Korean. No, it's a false belief. And also many people say, oh, you have for example, you have a romantic partner, be it a girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife, that is from another country, for example, from China. That's why you speak good Chinese. No, it's not true. It's not true. In my personal example, I saw so many people who date or who are in relationships with, or who has husband or wife who are they are from China, and those people still couldn't master Chinese on a fluent level. And so it doesn't depend on your location. It doesn't depend on your surroundings as much as you think. As much as you think. I don't mean that it's not important, but it doesn't depend on all of those factors. What it depends on is your motivation. It depends on your motivation. Are you actually driven? Are you actually motivated, strongly motivated to learn Chinese, for example, for 2 hours every single day, to actually invest in programs, to actually cut your learning curve? And so the question that I have for you is that, do you think that you're motivated strongly enough to take action and to actually master Chinese in the shortest period of time possible? So yeah, for example, some people say that they learn Chinese as a hobby. If they say that they learn Chinese as a hobby, there is no urgency there. And those people who say that they learn Chinese as a hobby, I didn't see any of those people actually achieving crazy results with it. And the reason is that they just view it as a hobby, as something secondary, as something that can't be postponed, as something that can be done tomorrow or next month. And they basically don't view it as something that they can invest in, that they should invest in. They don't view Chinese as something that can improve their life, increase their income, improve their their personal life, their social life, make an adventure out of their life. So they don't view Chinese language as this kind of thing. And other people just there are also people who are just genuinely curious in China. But this curiosity doesn't go as far as making a serious goal for learning Chinese and mastering it in the shortest period of time possible. Yeah, some people learn Chinese for just because, for example, their wife or husband is Chinese, or some of their relatives is Chinese, or because they're a little bit interested in a Chinese culture. They saw something from China, for example, some movies, and so they have an interest in it. And those people, they can learn Chinese for years without actually achieving any results. And the general theme in those conversations I had was that I ask you, so what do you do for learning Chinese? What do you actually do? What do you do every day? Do you have a system? Do you have a program? Did you invest in a course? So generally what those people say is actually pretty much the same. So the first thing that they say is that they're using an app to learn Chinese. And most of the people I personally talk to use Duolingo app. Yeah, they use the app which is called Duolingo. And the second thing that they tell me is that they say that they learn Chinese by watching Chinese movies, Chinese dramas, and Chinese media, for example, YouTube in Chinese. And so the third thing that they say they do is that they watch some YouTube channels for learning Chinese. And so those are three methods that will take them basically to upper beginner level at most, in my personal opinion, in a couple years or in 3 years at the best. And when I ask them what's your when do you want to master Chinese? What's your goal? They have hard time responding. And if I say them, for example, what about enrolling in a course? What about doing this and that? So they respond by saying that it's not their priority for now. It's just a hobby. They can do it after a while. Right now is not the best moment to do so. It's not on their priority list. And so this is the first kind of people who have consider learning Chinese as a hobby, as something that can be postponed, as something interesting. And I don't want to say that there is something wrong with that. I think this is completely cool. I think this is really great that those people consider Chinese as something interesting. But the problem with that is that it will almost never become a skill. for them. They will spend so many years on it, and finally they can even, many of them actually become extremely demotivated by the lack of progress, because although they say that it's not a priority, although they say that they don't have urgency in it, they still do something. They still take effort. They still open those apps. They still watch those YouTube videos. They still try to do something. They still probably have classes, take classes here and there, and they still take effort. They still take a lot of effort. But the problem with this is that this effort is not systematic. This effort is not purposeful, and this effort is really the motivation behind it is not strong enough to push them to real results. And the second type of people I'd like to talk to you about, all of my, like 100% of my students on my program, 100% of people who actually achieve results in Chinese. So those people, what type of motivations do they have? What type of motivations, what drives them to learn Chinese, to master it in the quickest period of time possible on the real high level, so that when they talk to somebody on the phone, like when they talk to Chinese people on the phone, they can't even say that they're foreigners. So what do those people do to drive themselves to those kinds of results? And so, first of all, like, let's consider the first type of motivation they have. Like, well, the first type of motivation they have is just, I want to try to live in China. I want to live in China. I want to interact with Chinese people on a day-to-day basis. I want to improve my personal life. I want to improve my social life by mastering Chinese language. And I want to become free. I want to become free in terms of that. For example, I'm in America, or I'm in Europe. I'm in Europe. I'm sick of my life. I'm tired of my life. I think it's boring. So let me go to China. Let me make my life an adventure. So they see it as an escape from boring life. They see it as a way to improve their social life, their personal life, everything in their life, just by mastering this language. And so they see it as a life improvement thing. And of course, if they see it as a life improvement thing, it has the highest priority in their life. And of course, they prioritize it, they can invest in it, they actually learn it, and they actually make steady progress and get the result. And so the second type of people is, the second type of motivation here is that people who are professionals who consider Chinese as their professional goal, as the way to distinguish themselves from other professionals like them, and as the way that they consider Chinese as a way to, for example, improve their business connections, expand their business, go to different markets. And so they view Chinese as the way to increase their income. It's an economic type of motivation. So the first type of motivation, I would call it social type of motivation, which is extremely strong. And the second is economic type of motivation. So those people who actually consider themselves able to expand their knowledge, to leverage their knowledge, abilities, and professional skills by mastering Chinese. So those people also they achieve results in Chinese extremely quickly. So clients on my program, they used to send voice messages or videos of them reading the dialogue or practicing Chinese, so that I can correct them when they go through a program. They have homework to do. And so I just love seeing those people, especially when they say to me, "Hey Victor, I was practicing this dialogue for like 5 hours today before sending it to you." And I just love seeing how much effort they take in order to master Chinese. For example, one of my students from France, he used to watch Chinese Zhibo. He used to live in China for a couple years, and he wants to go back there. And he learns Chinese to actually use it in China, to actually live there, and to actually improve his life and make an adventure out of his life. And Chinese for him is not only a hobby, it's the practical skill that he wants to master to improve his life. Another one of my students, he wants to work in China. He just feels really bored with his life right now, and he again wants to make an adventure out of his life. And for example, especially many of my clients, they have 9-to-5 job, and when they say many of my clients have 9-to-5 job, and still they find time every single day to invest in learning Chinese at least 1 to 2 hours a day, and they get crazy results. I just love seeing people motivated. I love seeing people getting results. Motivation is the number one most important component that can predict and that can predict your success in learning Chinese, and that can predict your result. And so if you want to start with something, start with motivation, with writing down your motivation. And so the practical tip here is try to write down how your social life can change by mastering Chinese, how you can make an adventure out of your life, how your social and even personal life can be changed by mastering this interesting foreign language. The second thing I recommend you to do is that write down how your economic how the economic aspect of your life will change after mastering Chinese. For example, if I master Chinese, my income will be increased by 30% or by 50% or by 100%. Write down those actual metrics so that you can actually consider investing in a program, investing in a course, and just doing everything that you can to master Chinese as quickly as possible. Because it's not only about the goal, it's not only about just kind of setting this goal for yourself, it's also about the time frame. Because if you set the goal of mastering Chinese and you don't set a time frame, it's not a goal. Goal consists of two important elements. The first one is the phrase, the kind of the specific thing that you want to achieve, and the second thing is the time frame. For example, I want to master Chinese on the conversational level in 12 weeks from now. Set the date and achieve this goal, and go to it every single day. And you can do it only by motivating yourself, only by understanding yourself, what actually drives you to learn this difficult foreign language every single day. And so, as a practical advice, under this video, try to write down those two motivations. The first one is social motivation, and the second one is economic motivation. Write it down in comments so that I can see it, so that other people from the community can see it and can be even more motivated by it, because other people probably can see your comment and can be motivated. Oh, I also want to accomplish this particular thing. It's not only about Chinese, it's also it's applicable to any other foreign language. And so I'm pretty sure that if you use those tips I give you here, you will accelerate your learning and you'll achieve the result in the shortest time possible. I hope that this video was helpful for you, and as always, until next time.